Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, and I'm your host, John June. It is Saturday, December 10th, 2022. And would you believe it's episode 300? Greg, would you believe in some form or fashion you, I, or myself have done this 300 times?
Crazy. That's insane.
Absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely crazy to think. Yeah, it's absurd. But you know what? We appreciate
you are some form of us. Yeah, made it.
Some form of us, yeah. Whether it's you, me, the both of us, done this 300 times. So crazy to think about. But, you know, we appreciate all of you out there that tune into this and have tuned into this 300 times, have listened to all of our episodes. And, you know, we appreciate that very much. And you know, here's to another 300 more, hopefully. So without further ado, Greg, let's jump in to Thursday night quick hits. Got to talk about some Thursday night football. And we're sitting here talking on Wednesday when we're breaking this game down, and we were really talking about the Raiders and how they would really come out and dominate this game, or should dominate this game, considering that if Baker Mayfield played, he'd be playing having been on the team for like 2 days. And
still had a better day than Derek Carr.
Had a better day than Derek Carr, and it seemed to be true for about 57 minutes of game time. But in those last 3 minutes, the Baker Mayfield led LA Rams make a 13-point comeback.
Baker Brady over here. That's basically what it was. That's
basically what it was. Well, they overcome a 13-point deficit, score 2 touchdowns in the last, I think, 3 minutes and 12 seconds or so of game time, and end up winning the game 17-16, identical score to
exactly how the Bucs game went. Pretty much
exactly how the Bucs game went. And I don't know if you saw Tom Brady's post-game presser when he walked up and he's like, just how he drew it up. And Sean McVay, his post-game presser, said the same thing. I don't know if he was trolling us or whatever, but yeah, that was. What'd you take? I mean, I know I personally was impressed with what Baker was able to do. Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels were extremely impressed by it as well. They wouldn't stop talking about it. You know, it was really impressive for him to do that coming off 2 days. You know, you're introducing yourself to guys in the huddle still, right? Like, you're calling plays that you probably haven't called in a game before ever, and you're running those plays, right? So, like, it's just you know, one of those situations where I as a football fan, like, forget the fantasy aspect of it. Like, as a football fan, I'm just really impressed by what Baker Mayfield was able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just hard to come in pretty much no practice time, no real practice. You were saying, like, yeah, that's a hard feat for any person, any player, even at the most elite one. So yeah, definitely kudos to him for coming in, especially after, you know, it's been a tough start of his career for sure. So he had every reason to kind of, you know, give up it. But yeah, he's here and getting another opportunity. So it's what's up.
Yeah, you know, I'm one of the few people that doesn't think Baker Mayfield is absolutely terrible. You know, he did have that rookie year, tied Andrew Luck's touchdown record, and then Herbert came in and broke it the following year. You know, so there is talent there. He was the number 1 pick in the draft for a reason. You know, so there's, I think Sean McVay is probably the right guy to try to get it out of him. So I don't know. We'll see what happens going forward, but you know, Baker is going to be Baker, man. And I don't know if you saw his like post-game locker room celebration was you know, his speech. He was like, I'm glad to be home and broke down the Rams, and it was just kind of kind of cool to witness that moment.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's obviously we're gonna break down every game as we broke down Thursday Night Football already. Gonna break down every single game here, but we do have some questions. Jeff Johnson asked, "Would you drop any of my bench players for J.K. Dobbins? Jerry Jeudy, George Pickens, Josh Palmer, Rashad White, and I'm assuming that's Cordero Patterson." It's very tough to say with Dobbins. I mean, he's definitely worth a speculative ad. Patterson's on bye right now, so he can't really help you, and he hasn't really been all that productive
Yeah.
anyway. So maybe
Definitely Rashad White.
definitely not Rashad White.
Yeah, definitely not Rashad White. Definitely not.
Yeah, I don't not Judy with especially with the Sutton injury.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
Pickens
maybe
is
boomer bust right now.
yeah. It would
Boomer,
really
yeah, and yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I'll probably play one of the receivers, Pickens or Palmer, if I'm
yeah.
gonna
I
do that.
mean, Mike Williams does come back, so that probably makes Palmer a little bit more expendable. Pickens isn't like part of a really he's more
Yeah,
of a name right now. He's had some flash plays, but like nothing that really you can bank on from a week to week basis from a fantasy
yeah,
perspective. I think if you want to just see what Dobbins can do this week, I think depending on how active your league is and your league mates and how much they pay attention, you could probably drop Cordero Patterson today and then get him back on like Monday, depending on your league. If J.K. Dobbins does nothing, or maybe, Pickens or Palmer does nothing, then before the week ends, what the start of Monday Night Football, depending again on the platform you play on, you might be able to pick up Cordero Patterson after having dropped him this week, if you get what I'm saying.
yeah.
We got another one from Trey S. Afternoon, gents. Full PPR start to Juju, Boyd, Singletary, Judy, or Rashad White. I have to start Dolchik if that rules out Judy. No other options. Thanks and good luck this week. Greg, I'll let you take this one first.
Yeah, I mean, if Fournette is not playing, you got to go Rashad White to start. That's I was looking like it's going to be up to game time, but he's hasn't. It's not trending to the right direction right now. So Rashad White, if Fournette's not playing, and then if with Sutton being out, I probably will go Judy. I'm not too excited because it is the Denver offense, but the main receiver and main pass catcher is gonna possibly give you a wide receiver 2 day, low end wide receiver 2 day. Singletary is kind of trending down with James Cook trending back up now. So yeah, I think I'm leaning to a Judy and Rashad White.
Yeah, I think so. I think I would play White either way, whether Fournette plays or not, because he could even be limited. He could be one of those situations where he's active, but for White plays most of the game, so I would just play White regardless. Plus, he's been the more efficient player, on a per touch basis. So I would
Mhm.
continue to just think that he will continue to seed those opportunities. Fournette will seed those opportunities to White. And then in terms of which of these other guys that I'm going to play, yeah, I think I'm with you. I think I would play Judy
He
regardless
has a
of
really
whether
good matchup.
he does have a really good matchup. There's no Cortland Sutton.
Yeah,
It's going to be him and Dulcich for the most part. Russell Wilson has a decent matchup as well. Yeah, so this could be just a good
yeah.
situation for
Mm.
the Denver passing attack. Um, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's jump into the games. Let's start breaking it down.
He's just like
And
Derek Carr, though. Anytime you give him an expectation, it's over. Just like we did with Thursday.
that's what Russell Wilson has been reduced to. He is Derek Carr. That's it.
Oh, brutal.
That's a shame. That feels bad. I feel bad for Derek Carr. Trey says, appreciate it, fellas. Jeff Johnson says, I think I might drop Palmer. My wide receivers are good. Amon-Ra, Waddle, and Hollywood, so I don't think I would start Palmer ever. My
Yeah.
running backs are Saquon, Eckler, and the bench ones. Yeah, there you go. You know,
Saquon's probably a bigger issue right now. He might not play.
yeah. So
Yeah.
his neck injury is definitely an issue. So I would probably go scoop up Matt Breida if you could as well. Or Dobbins, obviously has good upside as a bench running back as well.
Mhm.
All right, let's move into the first game here. We've got the
It's the best game right here.
10-2 Minnesota Vikings traveling to Detroit to take on the 5-7 up-and-coming Detroit Lions. This game has a 53.5-point total, where, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, as of a few days ago, the Detroit Lions were 1.5-point favorites. But I've seen that line even increase to Detroit being
-2.
2.5. So, again, the 5-7 Detroit Lions are 1.5-point favorites, somewhere even closer to 2.5, against the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings. Just
love it.
let that marinate for a little bit. In terms of the weather, we're okay because this game's in a dome. In terms of injuries, DeAndre Swift did show up on the injury report earlier in the week with an ankle, but he has since been removed, so he's good to go. Deshaun Elliott, the safety, he's a DNP with an ankle earlier in the week. Quintus Cephas, the wide receiver, he's designated to return from the injury reserve, coming back from that foot injury. So it looks like he will be good to go there. And then for Minnesota, left tackle Christian Darrisaw, he was limited participant in practice with a concussion. And then the Minnesota Vikings have a few guys that were on the team that are dealing with some illnesses. So, doesn't seem like any of them are on track to miss the game, but just definitely something to pay attention to. In terms of the matchup here, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Detroit to cover. I will take Detroit to win the game. Typically, Vegas knows when they do something like this, they know something that I don't know or we don't know. So this is really my you look at Minnesota, they've played a lot of close games as well. Detroit has recently
they
been
live in close games.
Yeah, Detroit lives in close games. Minnesota also lives in close games, but Detroit has, they've been playing against some really good football against some really quality teams. They had a 3-point loss against Buffalo. Then they go out and they absolutely wallop the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Minnesota's defense is prone to giving up big plays. Detroit's offense lives off big plays. And Detroit's defense has actually been getting a lot better since the firing of the defensive or the pass game coordinator there. So, I'm going to take Detroit here. But in terms of the fantasy matchups, going to take Jared Goff as a QB1. I think he's got a fantastic matchup. DeAndre Swift, I think, back to getting the usage he was, getting early in the year. I think that makes him a top 10 running back. Jamal Williams and RB, 3 or 2. Obviously, if he gets that touchdown, he's closer to an RB2, maybe even an RB1, depending on if he gets multiple. For Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, he's a wide receiver 1, of course. Kirk Cousins, borderline QB1. Dalvin Cook, an RB2. Detroit has been good against running backs in recent weeks, so I'm not really loving the matchup there for Dalvin Cook. TJ Hawk is a tight end 1. Adam Thielen is a wide receiver 3. I don't know why I skipped Amon-Ra St. Brown's name in my notes, but he is probably, I've been saying it for 3 consecutive weeks, the wide receiver 1. He's finished 3 and then 2. Greg, it's on to you.
Bro, I'm with you. Over Detroit to cover, Detroit to win. This is probably the most intriguing game fantasy-wise, and probably game-wise, it's going to be wild, one of those wild ones. should go down to the wire. And as far as fantasy, like there's no one that is a bad play in this matchup. You want everyone from here, uh, on both sides. Kirk Cousins on the Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, even Adam Thielen trending up in the right direction right now. So you like him, I think, as a wide receiver too this week. I like him. TJ Hawkinson, everyone on that side is going to be great. They're all Kirk Cousins and Jefferson should be ones at their position. On the Lions side, same with Jared Goff. He's been hot right now. Mike White just lit this team up. The Jared Goff is going to put up some high yardage numbers in this one. DeAndre Swift also playing well. He's trending up. I think it's Jamal Williams, Monroe St. Brown, DJ Shark even is I think a deeply flex play. There's literally everyone in this game should have some value in this game. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic game from a fantasy perspective. All right, let's move on to this next game here. And let me pull up before we get into this matchup because we did talk about the weather being a factor earlier in the week, and I was looking into it as we talk about the 7-5 New York Jets traveling to Buffalo to take on the 9-3 Buffalo Bills, where this game has a 44.5 point total, and the Buffalo Bills are 9.5 point home favorites. In terms of the weather, looks like there's going to be a mix of rain and snow potentially in this game. Um, Sunday afternoon, there's not going to be much wind, so it's not a major concern according to weather analyst Kevin Roth for Roto Grinders. So, um, just again, something to watch there as we make these fantasy decisions here. But in terms of the injuries for Buffalo, Von Miller was placed on injured reserve after suffering a knee injury in the Thanksgiving game a few weeks ago. Um, was said to not be season ending. He did not tear his ACL, was the initial thought. But when they were, um, I guess they ended up discovering an injury to his ACL, which requires surgery. So he will be out for the year, miss the rest of the season there. So that's a huge blow for the Bills defense. Linebacker Matt Milano, he has been a DNP, I think, practice in limited fashion later in the week, dealing with a knee injury. So he's highly questionable. Again, that's another big blow potentially for the Bills defense. And then center Mitch Morse, he's questionable. Offensive tackle Dave Quessenberry, he's also questionable. And then I believe oh yeah, Reggie Gilman, the fullback, he's out. And there was one more player that I forgot that was out. But for the New York Jets, Max Mitchell, he's out, has placed on the NFI. He will miss the rest of the year after the team found blood clots in his leg. And then um, uh, Michael Clemens, the defensive end, he is highly questionable after missing practice all week with an illness. In terms of the game here, Greg, where you going?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take the Jets to cover, but I'm gonna take the Bills to win. Um, on the Jets side, both teams, defenses vulnerable, but and in Buffalo, AFC divisional game might be a little tougher. But on the Bill side, Josh Allen, QB1, of course, Devin Singletary and James Cook. I mean, right now James Cook is trending in a better direction right now. I think he's the running back I would want to start of the two. I think they're both in that high in RB3 territory, but I think James Cook could give you the RB2 day. As far as the receivers, Stephon Diggs, wide receiver one, Gabe Davis, wide receiver three, Isaiah McKenzie, deep league flex option, but always has that opportunity to boom. In the last couple of games, has been definitely more involved. And on the Jet side, Mike White, quarterback stream of the week. You're playing him if you definitely need a quarterback, especially in this week where there's 6 teams on bye. So if you need an option besides Jared Goff, I think he's the next guy on up top. Michael Carter should be back. So him and Solomon Knight are kind of like the Devin Singletary, James Cook. I think one of them has a higher upside in this game. I think it's still with Solomon Knight playing so well in the last couple of weeks. I think he's going to continue to get some opportunity. think both are in that low end RB2 territory though as well. The receivers, Garrett Wilson, a lock. He's a must start option, a wide receiver one, especially in this game where the Jets are going to have to put up some points and put in the air more, and they have been with Mike White. So I like him, and then Corey Davis as well as a low end flex with Tyler Conklin as a streaming tight end.
Yeah, I also took the over here. Also took the Jets to cover. Also took the Bills to win this game. Josh Allen, QB1. He made it as a QB1 last time, with his legs rushing for 2 touchdowns. The matchup's tough, but you're not benching Josh Allen.
No,
No
no.
chance. Uh, Stephon Diggs, he's a wide receiver one. Again, you're gonna play your guys. The matchup's tough. Had a good game against them last time, but a lot of that came on one play. But again, you're not gonna bench him. Saw what Justin Jefferson did last week. So you're kind of hoping he gets enough targets and maybe even gets in the end zone there to be productive. James Cook, I'm with you. People think that last week might have been a little bit random and that they'll go back to Singletary. I don't think you, at this stage in the game, you can put James Cook back in the box, right? Like
Yeah,
you've already like he led the team in touches last week, had 20 touches in the game against New England. Like you don't do that and then see how productive he was. Not to say take anything away from Devin Singletary, but they drafted James Cook. He had the hot hand that day. Maybe it's one of those things, but I'm gonna bank on the talent here of James Cook and just trust that wins out. So I would play James Cook. I mean, with them being 9.5 point favorites, there's a world where you can convince yourself to play Devin Singletary, but I don't think that I could do that. So well, I could do that as like an RB3, right? I
yeah,
would put
yeah,
Singletary as an RB3 and then James Cook as, maybe a high end RB2. Gabe Davis probably going to take a seat for me this week. I never say that with Gabe Davis, but it's just he's so boomer bust, which we typically, I know I typically embrace that, because those high upside the high upside games that he might have, but I don't think that he's going to have one of those days against the Jets here. Wasn't able to do that last time they played. So, I'll probably have him take a seat. And then for the Jets side, I think Garrett Wilson, he's a wide receiver one. There's no way you could put him on the bench right now. Not especially not the way he's playing with Mike White. Zonovan Knight, I think the Jets coaches have talked about it. He's earned a role in the offense. He brings a different element than maybe even Michael Carter. He's probably the best running back on the roster right now. Considering Brees Hall's injury, and he brings the closest things to what Brees brought in terms of his physicality and even his speed in the open
mm-hmm.
field. So I think Bam Knight is going to continue to lead the team in touches. So I would have him as a high end RB2. The last time the Jets won this game, it was on the back of Michael Carter and James Robinson running the football. So Michael Carter is going to be involved as well, but he'll be an RB3 in his first game back for me. Mike White, I've got him down as a QB2 on the week. 6 teams on bye. It's a mid QB2, but the matchup, we've talked about this plenty of times. Like the matchup here is definitely one that I'm not gonna shy away from. But Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, if those guys are available, I'm definitely going those guys over Mike White. And then again, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. I think both guys have opportunities. Corey Davis saw more targets last week, but Elijah Moore, I think, is gonna make some plays in the slot as well. So we'll see what happens this week. But those guys are more of like desperation flex, DFS plays for me.
Word.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup. The 8-4 Baltimore Ravens traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the 5-7 Pittsburgh Steelers, where this game has a 36.5-point total, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-point home favorites in this one. In terms of weather, it's expected to be rainy in this game. In terms of injuries, Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson, he's doubtful with a knee. I don't know why the Baltimore Ravens just don't set him to out, because it would make it a lot easier for me to manage my fantasy team. But Patrick Queen, he says he expects to play after dealing with a thigh injury. He was carted off with what looked like to be a knee injury, but turns out he could only end up actually not having to miss a game. And then news that came out earlier this morning, J.K. Dobbins was activated off of the injured reserve, so he's eligible to play this week. Could be active. I would assume he'd be active, but that's the case there. And then for Pittsburgh, wide receiver Deontay Johnson, he was limited dealing with a hip injury all week, and then Najee Harris, he was dealing with an oblique, the same oblique he suffered 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Football, but he expects to play. He practiced in limited fashion later in the week. And then TJ Watt is questionable, as well as a few other guys questionable there as well. In terms of this game here, I'm going to take the under, going to take Pittsburgh to cover, Pittsburgh to win. For Baltimore, Andrews is the top 2 option at the position. Huntley is my stream of the week. He's a QB2 for me, but again, like I said, simply a floor play. Robinson is a wide receiver 3, but I'm not sure. Or Demarcus Robinson, a wide receiver 3, but I'm not sure he's worth going after in this matchup with Tyler Huntley. Although the matchup is pretty decent against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but again, probably not worth it. At running back, Gus Edwards is an RB3. J.K. Dobbins, I don't think I could trust him in his first game back, not in this fashion. And then for Pittsburgh, Najee Harris is an RB2. Deontay Johnson is a wide receiver 3, and then Pickens is also a wide receiver 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna take
And
the under.
Fryermuth is a tight end 1.
Word, love it. Yeah, I think we'll take the under as well. Pittsburgh to cover and Pittsburgh to win. Agree with you on that Baltimore side. Tyler Huntley should give you a nice safe floor. Definitely high in QB2 with his legs, no matter what the score is. As far as the running backs, Gus is probably an RB3 in this one. Not going to be a lot of offense in this one. Definitely looking towards the tight ends on both sides as being the main options. So Mark Andrews, and then for Pittsburgh, Pat Fryer both tight end 1s, and then running back Najee Harris, low in RB2 as he is, every week. Solid RB2 every week. Still hasn't missed a start, so he's out there for you available. And that's about it. I mean, if Deontay Johnson will give you maybe some type of floor, but it's tough.
Really tough, man. Really tough there. All right, let's move on to this next game. The 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles traveling to MetLife to take on the 7-4-1 New York Giants. This game has a 45.5-point total, where the Philadelphia Eagles are 6.5-point road favorites. In terms of injuries for the New York Giants, Richie James, who was dealing with a knee injury earlier in the week, seems like he's good to go. For Philadelphia, Quez Watkins, he was dealing with a shoulder. He's questionable, and Kazir White is also questionable, the linebacker there. In terms of the matchup, or also for the Giants, sorry, I forgot to mention, Saquon Barkley, he's highly questionable with a neck injury. They say he's 50-50 to play. He could, he's probably going to end up being a game time decision, so they say. So definitely, if that happens, Matt Breida would be the starter, and so something that you would want to, monitor as the week goes, or as we get closer to Sunday. But I would make sure to pick up and roster Najee Harris. I think Edwin Porras said that, I think going back to 2006, doctor of physical therapy, Edwin Porras, he said going back to 2006, like only 17 running backs have showed up with on the injury report with a neck injury and like not missed any time. So I don't know what the sample size is on that, but it just seemed like it was something significant. So I would make sure I have Matt Breida roster. But Greg, where are you going with this game?
Yeah, definitely. Always have that plan B ready. I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Eagles to cover, Eagles to win. I think it'll be divisional game, close game in the first half. I think Eagles will pull away towards the end. On the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts, QB1, top two, top three option every week. You're playing him. Miles Sanders, RB2 option. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. AJ Brown, wide receiver one. Devontae Smith, wide receiver two. They should be explosive as usual. And then as far as that's it for the Eagle side. As far as the Giants side, Daniel Jones, same analysis every week. Could fall into that QB1, borderline QB1 with his legs, no matter who he's playing. The defense there, uh, Eagles defense should cause some havoc though for sure. So they might be the play out of everyone in this game. And then as far as the receivers, there's really no one I trust outside of that. I'm pass catcher is Danny Bellinger. That's all I want.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, like you said. I mean, sorry, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Philly to cover, Philly to win. Daniel Jones again, QB1. Like you said, and we say every week, could fall into that QB1 finish. Darius Slayton, wide receiver 2 or 3. The matchup's not great with Philadelphia here, but the Giants really don't have any other options when it comes to pass catchers. So he's really Mr. Necessary. Um,
Yeah, that's true. Wide receiver three for sure.
Saquon Barkley, if he can go, I think the matchup is nice. He'd be an RB1 if he could go, but uh, Matt Breida, I think he'd be like an RB2, an RB3 potentially if Saquon doesn't go. Bellinger, he's obviously in play as a tight end one. Should see, targets again on someone else who's necessary there for the Giants. And then for the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, he is or the QB1. I mean, I really don't see how he doesn't finish
Yeah,
as a top 2 option at the position, like you said. And then
unless Kirk
Smith
Cousins and Jared Goff get it 1 and 2,
that would be nice. Something that
that would be nice.
we'll talk about a little bit later, I guess. Smith and Brown, they're both top 10 options for me at the wide receiver position. And Miles Sanders, he's an RB1, has a great matchup here against the Giants, who struggled against running back. So, yeah, definitely an intriguing NFC East matchup there. Let's move on to an AFC North matchup here. The 5-7 Cleveland Browns traveled to Cincinnati to take on the 8-4 Cincinnati Bengals. This game has a 47.5-point total, where the Cincinnati Bengals are 6-point favorites. In terms of the weather, no weather concerns in this game. In terms of injuries, Joe Mixon, full participant in practice, dealing with a concussion. He seems like he's on track to play and good to go. Hayden Hurst, he is doubtful with the calf injury, not expected to play there. And then for Cleveland, David Njoku, the tight end, he's limited with a knee, questionable. David Bell, he is been limited with a thumb injury. He's also questionable. And then Myles Garrett, he's questionable as well. In terms of the matchup here, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Cincinnati to cover, Cincinnati to win. In terms of the fantasy matchups for Cincinnati, Joe Mixon again seems on track to be back and just in time for a great matchup. I don't know, man. It's tough because I feel like there was reports that it's going to be just his backfield, and P. Ryan's going to take a back seat, but it kind of feels like he probably earned more work. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but you can't play him unless you feel like you have to necessarily, and you're desperate. But T. Higgins, he's a wide receiver one for the Bengals. Joe Burrow, QB1. I think Chase, his first game back, he seemed healthy, so I would anticipate him being a wide receiver one as well. And then for the Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb, he's an RB1. Deshaun Watson, he's a low end QB2. Amari Cooper, he's been dealing with a hip injury, so that hasn't been great, but he's expected to play. So he's a wide receiver 2. And David Njoku, if he can go, he's a tight end 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Cleveland to cover, but Cincinnati to win. On Cincinnati side, Joe Burrow, QB1, been on the tear of late. Just yeah, again continuing that consistency tear towards the end of the season, getting his guys back. Joe Mixon, I love him as well. I think he's a high in RB1. I mean, I think the moment he comes in, he's taking all of his role back. I believe, getting all that work back. I think Cleveland is just used to. I mean, Cincinnati is used to giving most of the volume to one player. Far as the other players, Jamar Chase, wide receiver one, T. Higgins, borderline wide receiver one, but strong, high end wide receiver two. And as far as Tyler Boyd, with Jamar Chase being back, he was already not, being a high upside play without Jamar Chase. So I think he's at best, wide receiver four. On the Cleveland side, Deshaun Watson hopefully can bounce back from last week. I think he's, in that I'm gonna rank him around QB 13, QB 14 range. So he can have potential to be a QB one, but he's a high in QB two. As far as the running backs, Nick Chubb RB one, Kareem Hunt RB three, receivers. Mark Cooper, wide receiver one, and then David Njoku. Yeah, I like him as a tight end one.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, Deshaun has a better performance on the field this week.
Yeah, you want that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to this next matchup here. The 4-8 Jacksonville Jaguars traveled to Tennessee to take on the 7-5 Tennessee Titans, who are 3.5-point home favorites. This game has a 42.5-point total. In terms of whether we're okay there, in terms of injuries, Trevor Lawrence looked like he suffered a foot or an ankle injury, but turns out it was a toe injury, and then he didn't practice all week until Friday. So he definitely is he's on track, it seems, to play, but something that could limit him in certain ways and whatnot. Zay Jones, he was limited with a chest injury all week. Chad Muma, the rookie linebacker, he is out with an ankle injury. Andrew Cisco, the safety, is limited with a shoulder. And then for Tennessee, Traylon Burks, he's out with that concussion injury. And then Ryan Tannehill, he was limited with an ankle. Greg, where are you leaning with this matchup?
Taking the under, taking Jacksonville to cover. I'm gonna take Jacksonville to win. On the Jacksonville side, Trevor Lawrence I think has an excellent matchup. I mean, as far as the QB, as far as the receivers on the outside, Tennessee has a really bad secondary. So I think Christian Kirk and Zay Jones able to go, is in a good spot here. Trevor Lawrence I think is a QB one. Christian Kirk as a wide receiver one. Jay Jones I think is a solid wide receiver two in this matchup if he's able to go. And as far as the tight end, Evan Ingram, he's also in play as well. On Jacksonville as a good streaming tight end. On the Tennessee side, Derrick Henry, of course, you're playing him every week as a high end RB1. And there'll be no Traylon Burks, so maybe Robert Woods could be used as a little bump for some flex intrigue. But that's about it. And also on the Jacksonville side, Travis Etienne is in play for sure.
Awesome. I am going to take the over. I'm going to take Jacksonville to cover. I'm going to take Tennessee to win. If Trevor Lawrence is healthy, I think he's a QB1 on the higher end. Christian Kirk, he's a wide receiver one, has a fantastic matchup, as does Zay Jones, who disappointed last week, but I think I'd be willing to play him this week, as a wide receiver too. Travis Etienne, yeah, he's in play as an RB2 or 3. Hasn't been as on fire as he was when he first took over the starting job, but he's he's definitely somebody that's explosive and can make big plays. So definitely want him in your lineup. For Tennessee, Tannehill has a fantastic matchup. I know I said earlier in the week, if Traylon Burks doesn't go, like I would be less inclined to start Tannehill, but I still think he has a really good matchup here. And I think I would be willing to throw him out there as a low end QB1. For Tennessee, Derrick Henry, he's an RB1. This matchup is absolutely phenomenal here for Derrick Henry. Austin Hooper, he's my stream of the week. I think he has, tight end one upside, and especially with Treylon Burks out, I think that means more opportunities for him there as well. Don't know which wide receiver I would lean to without Burks. Maybe Nick Westbrook Akine would probably be the guy I would look towards in that instance. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Robert Woods either.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to this next matchup. The 1-10-1 Houston Texans travel to Dallas to take on the 9-3 Dallas Cowboys. This game has a 44.5 point total, where the Dallas Cowboys are 17-point favorites.
Because of what they did on Sunday. Was Sunday night, Monday? Oh man.
And what the Texans did against the Browns.
Yeah.
For this game's in a dome, so no weather concerns for Dallas in terms of the injuries. Tyron Smith, he's eligible to return from the injured reserve, having dealt with that knee injury, so that's good news there. They have a few guys questionable on offense, or on defense rather, and then for Houston, Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks and Derek Stingley are all out with a foot, a calf, and a hamstring respectively. A few other guys questionable there, so that's definitely a blow there. Kyle Allen, who came in for a benched Davis Mills, is going back to the bench after 2 games for the previously benched Davis Mills. Remember when I said, why are they benching? Remember when I said, why are they putting Kyle Allen?
Yeah.
Like, what is the point? Like, what's the purpose?
No point. Yeah, definitely glad that Davis Mills is there.
And after 2 games, they saw that there was no point. In terms of the game here, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Houston to cover. I can't take Houston to cover. I'm going to take Dallas to cover. Then I'm going to take Dallas to win. For Dallas, CeeDee Lamb is a wide receiver 2. Tony Pollard is an RB1. Zeke is an RB2. Not really into Dak Prescott this week. Houston, they've been good against quarterbacks. Just not going to do it. For Houston, Dameon Pierce is an RB3, and then that's it. Play your Dallas defense though, and enjoy enjoy every minute of it.
Yep, Dallas defense for sure. It's defense start of the week. I'm gonna take the under. I want to take the under last week as well, but the Dallas just might run it up again. So I think I'm gonna take the over. Actually, I'm gonna take Dallas to cover, Dallas to win. Yeah, on the Dallas side, Dak, has been putting up, passing touchdowns. Just the yards are not there, and this is probably gonna be another game where he doesn't really need to go hard. So yeah, I'm having him as a safe floor, high in QB2. I think he's still a little playable, but because first half they might go off. Tony Pollard though, Zeke, the running back should be used for sure. I think both of them could finish in that RB1 territory, but Tony Pollard has more upside. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 1, Michael Gallup, low end flex, Dalton Schultz, tight end 1, and then on Houston side, Dameon Pierce, that's it. Solid wide receiver, solid RB2. I just see if they're going to score a touchdown, if they're going to be able to score an offensive touchdown.
So the Houston Texans have only allowed 3 quarterbacks to go over 20 points. That would be Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and then your boy Daniel Jones.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a little tough. I mean, granted, we say that, but then it's like, well, who else have they played? The Colts, the Broncos.
So the way to beat them is to run that ball. So that too, yeah.
But I think there was a stat. I don't know if it's still true to this point. It must be true to this point. They've caught more interceptions than they've allowed touchdown passes. So the Houston pass defense has been pretty good. They've got good players in the secondary. It's just, and plus with teams being able to run the football, like you said, right? Like why even go into that fire when you could just run the football down their throats? So
I thought you were gonna say they have more interceptions than catching touchdowns on the offensive end.
Oh no! Their defense has more
close.
interceptions than opposing quarterbacks have scored touchdowns on them. So,
Perfect.
all right, let's move on to this next game. Which, if you asked us 3 months ago, we couldn't wait for this game and wanted all of our pieces to be in this game, and we would
An
stack
AFC West like championship battle right here, pretty much.
And we would stack it in DFS and all this stuff. And anyway, the 9-3 Kansas City Chiefs traveled to Denver to take on the 3-9 Denver Broncos, where this game has a 43.5 point total, and the Kansas City Chiefs are 8.5 point home favorites. In terms of injuries, or in terms of weather, actually, the weather's okay, but in terms of injuries, wide receiver for Denver, Cortland Sutton, he's out with a hamstring injury. Jerry Jeudy, was removed from the injury report, having dealt with that ankle injury. A few other guys questionable, but they seem to be good to go there. For KC, Kadarius Toney, he's out with the hamstring injury. Nick Bolton questionable with a groin after being limited. Greg, where are you leaning with this matchup here?
I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Chiefs to cover, Chiefs to win. On the Chiefs side, Patty Mahomes, he's gonna be QB1 as usual. Pacheco, I think, is a solid RB2 in this matchup. Jared McKinnon, a like low and deep league flex. If you're 6 teams on bye, I think he is in play as a top 30 play this week. As far as the receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver 3. Travis Kelce, best pass catcher on the team, best pass catcher on the field right now. So he's a tight end 1. On Denver side, all I want is Jerry Jeudy and Greg Dulcich, and that's it. Jerry Judy's a wide receiver 2. If he's going, Dulcich is a borderline tight end 1, and that's it. I don't care what the matchup is. They could be playing a flag football defense. I don't want to play Russell Wilson. Don't want it. I don't want it.
Oh, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Denver to cover. I'm gonna take Kansas City to win. For Denver, Russell Wilson has quarterback 1 upside.
He had it against the Raiders game, and he didn't do anything. Like, nah, I don't want it. I don't want it.
But the only thing that I could think about this is that you don't have a choice, right? Like, there's not Derek Carr on the other side. Like, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna score almost every time he touches the football. So you have to keep pace, right? Like,
or just get blown out, which they will.
You think they'll get blown out? Oh man.
I mean, they're home. They're home, so they got that going for them.
It's definitely one that is going to be hard to stomach, right? Like, throwing Russell Wilson out there is going to be hard to stomach. But I think in a super flex league, he is a fine option as your quarterback 2. He has some quarterback 1 upside purely because the Chiefs are not great against quarterbacks, right? If I look at this, pull this up
as your quarterback 2, so you got Tyler Huntley out there. Yo, Brock Purdy,
Brock Purdy. Kansas City has allowed the 9th most fantasy points to the quarterback position over their last 3 games.
Has Denver played the Chiefs this year?
No, they play them this week, and then they play them in 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Quarterback 1 upside. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it there. That's it. But Lat Murray has RB1 upside. Jerry Jeudy has wide receiver 2 upside. I think Greg Dulcich is a tight end 2 with some tight end 1 upside. For Kansas City, see, I don't speak in anything about absolutes when it comes to Denver. I just talk about what the upside is.
So generous of you.
For Kansas City, Mahomes is a top 2 option at the quarterback position. Travis Kelce, he's most likely the tight end 1. Pacheco, he's an RB3, I think, with RB2 upside. McKinnon, I think he's an RB3. Juju Smith-Schuster is probably the wide receiver that I would trust of this group, but he's going to be a wide receiver 3 for me. All right, that's enough of that game. Let's move on to this next one. The 4-8 Carolina Panthers travel to Seattle to take on the 7-5 Seattle Seahawks. This game has a 43.5-point total, where the Seattle Seahawks are 3.5-point home favorites. In terms of the weather, possible rain in this game. In terms of injuries, Carolina running back Deontay Foreman, he was questionable with a foot coming into the week, but he looks like he's good to go. There's a few other guys questionable there for Carolina. For Seattle, Kenneth Walker and DJ Dallas all were DNPs pretty much the whole week. And in true Pete Carroll fashion, says that they both have a chance to play and they will both be game time decisions. Travis Homer, he's limited with a knee injury. Will Dissly, he's a DNP with a calf. And Marquise Goodwin, he's a DNP with a hand. And our guy, Greg, the original Mr. Necessary, Wayne Gallman, was signed to the Seattle Seahawks practice squad.
There you go. Look at that.
Look at that. So we'll see what happens. If he's activated Sunday morning from the practice squad or elevated either Sunday morning or even Saturday night, then there's a reasonable expectation that these running backs and Kenneth Walker, DJ Dallas don't play in this game. But Greg, I am going to take the over here. I'm going to take Carolina to cover. I will take Carolina to win this game.
Okay.
For Carolina, DJ Moore is a wide receiver 2. Deontay Foreman, a running back 2. He's got a great matchup. Terrace Marshall has some wide receiver 3 for intrigue in deeper leagues. For Seattle, Geno Smith, he's a top 10 option at the position. Matchup is relatively tough, but he's done well all year outside of maybe one game against Tampa Bay. DK and Lockett, they're wide receiver 1s. With the injuries at the running back position, they might have to look at these pass catchers a bit more. So I think that that could lead to more opportunities for them. Kenneth Walker III, if he can go, which I doubt he does, but if he can, I would treat him as an RB2. If not, Tony Jones. I don't think DJ Dallas goes either. So I would think it would be a committee between Tony Jones Jr. and Travis Homer. Travis Homer's typically, mostly been a third down back. So I would expect Tony Jones to really be the guy. But like I said, maybe they throw the football a little bit more like they did last week, after adjusting in game. But yeah, that's really it for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Carolina to cover, but Seattle to win. I think it's a field goal game for sure. On the Seattle side, Geno Smith, I think he's a QB1, mid-range QB1. Like if Kenneth Walker can't go, if he can go, obviously, he's a borderline RB1, strong RB2 for sure. If he can't go, that does make it a little tough for who to play because they're probably going to use a little bit of everybody in that sense. I think one of these guys could have a RB3, RB2 day. Just not sure who it is. Maybe DJ Dallas has the most like experience with the team like previous season. So if I think he could be a speculative add and play if Kenneth Walker can't go. As far as the receivers, DK wide receiver 1, Tyler Lockett wide receiver 2, Noah Fant my tight end shooting week, so he's in play as well. On the Panthers side, I'm just really looking forward to playing Deontay Foreman and DJ Moore. Deontay Foreman being a RB2 and DJ Moore also being a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to this next game here. 4:25 p.m. The 6-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to San Fran to take on the 8-4 San Francisco 49ers. This game has a 37.5-point total. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3.5-point road underdogs. can't believe we were robbed of Tom Brady v. Jimmy G. But it is what it is. In terms of the injuries for San Fran, CMC, he's been limited with the knee injury. So, definitely that's something I think McCaffrey's been dealing with. So just continue to monitor that. But Deebo Samuel, he was limited with a quad. Nick Bosa, DMP with a hamstring. Eric Armstead, questionable with a foot and ankle. And then for Tampa Bay, Leonard Fournette, he was limited with a foot injury. Antoine Winfield, he's questionable with an ankle. And then Tristan Wirfs, he's out of this game. So in terms of this matchup, Greg, where are you going?
I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Tampa to cover, but I'm gonna take San Fran to win. I don't know how they do it, but they're just so well coached. They just find ways to do it, and their defense is pretty good. But on Tampa side, if Leonard Fournette can go, even if he does, I do like Rachaad White, more upside. He's been hot right now. RB2. Chris Godwin, borderline wide receiver 1. He's been trending up a lot in the last couple of weeks, being, I think, the receiver I want in this offense. Mike Evans is a lower end wide receiver 2. And on the San Fran side, Chris McCaffrey, wide receiver, RB1, top 5 play every week if he's in there. Deebo Samuel, he's a wide receiver 2 for me. Brandon Ayuk, top 30 play, and George Kittle is a tight end 1. But yeah, I think slight bump down for everybody. I mean, things should be a low scoring game, very defensive minded game.
I'm gonna take the under. Gonna take Tampa Bay to cover. I'm gonna take Tampa Bay to win the game. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to get. I need to see Brock Purdy do it again, like after not coming in the middle of a
They don't
game.
need a quarterback, yo. They don't need a quarterback.
I know they just
San Fran
play
offers.
around the quarterback. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know how they get it done without a quarterback, but they do.
Yeah, so with that being said, for San Fran, CMC, he's an RB1. Deebo Samuel, I think we see Deebo actually go back to being the focal point again, along with CMC, because you do have Brock Purdy, and one of the ways they do play around the quarterback is to get it in the hands of playmakers and count on yards after catch. So I think Deebo Samuel, he probably gets a bump. So I would play him as a wide receiver 2. I think Kittle, he's a tight end 1. Brandon Ayuk, I've been a big proponent of him over Deebo for much of the latter half of the year. But this week, with Purdy, I think he's going to be a wide receiver 3 or 4. I think, like we talked about, they're going to be depending on those yards after catch. Not that Ayuk can't do that, but that's definitely Deebo's strength. And we've talked about this, ad nauseum. When they want to throw the football, the offense goes through Ayuk at that point. He's the more traditional, wide receiver. When they want to get the ball down the field, they're looking to him. And I don't think they're going to be trying to get the ball down the field with Brock Purdy playing quarterback. So Purdy is a lower end QB2 in super flex leagues for me. For Tampa Bay, Chris Godwin, he's a wide receiver 1. Mike Evans is a wide receiver 2. Rachaad White, he's an RB2. Wasn't a timeshare last week, but Fournette, who's also an RB2, but if Fournette misses time with this foot injury that he popped up for late in the week, then Rachaad White is closer into the RB1 territory, and I don't think I've said Brady's name for weeks, so
No need to.
No
need to.
All right, let's move on to this next matchup. Sunday night football. We've got the 8-4 LA Rams.
Got a good one here. Finally.
8-4 Miami Dolphins traveling to LA to take on the 6-6 LA Chargers. This game has a 51.5 point total, where the Miami Dolphins are 2.5 point road favorites in this one. In terms of injuries for the LA Chargers, Derwin James, he was DNP on Thursday. Definitely not a good sign. Looks like he's on track to miss the game here. There's a few other guys questionable for the Chargers, but for Miami, Jalen Waddle, he was a full participant in practice with that fibula injury. So that's good news there. Tua is questionable with an ankle. Teddy Bridgewater, he's limited with a knee. In terms of the matchups here, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Miami to cover. I'm going to take Miami to win. For the LA Chargers, Eckler, he's an RB1. Herbert is a QB1. Keenan Allen, he's a wide receiver 1. Mike Williams in his first game back is a high upside wide receiver 3. I mean, he's got definite upside for more than that. The matchup's great. Again, it's just his first game back. Not really sure what to expect and what his usage will be. But Palmer is interesting as a wide receiver 3-4 flex option. Gerald Everett, he's a tight end 1, but I say that reluctantly. From Miami, 2 is a top 5 option. Tyreek Hill, he's in a great spot, but I don't think the spots matter with him anymore. Waddle, he's a wide receiver 2. Mostert or Wilson, it's Mostert or Raheem Mostert or Jeff Wilson. I think I will lean Wilson, but I think you can play both and expect RB3/flex production from them.
Yeah, for sure. Besides, that Minnesota Detroit game, this one has a lot of fantasy relevance as well. I'm taking over, taking Miami to cover, Miami to win. On both sides, though, a lot of plays. Definitely intriguing. On the Dolphin side, you like Tua, love Tua, QB1. Agree with you. Between the running backs, they're both, I think, solid RB2 plays, lower end RB2 plays. I think they both have great matchups. So one of them is going to have a possibly RB1 day. It's tough. I'll give the slightest of edge to Jeff Wilson. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 1. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 1. As far as the Chargers side, love Herbert, QB1, Eckler, RB1. Same with you in the receivers. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams are both in play. Mike Williams being back, Keenan Allen being a wide receiver 1. Gerald Everett. This man has had the best tight end schedule of all time. Like, I feel like every week he's had a great matchup. And last week he came through finally. I think he is back on track to have a good play, have a good start, and that's it. Yeah, it should be very entertaining Sunday night game though.
I wonder who's underperformed in good matchups more this year, Gerald Everett or Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson. It's still Russell Wilson.
You think so?
Yeah, because he's a quarterback. Like, you're supposed to get points, bro. Like, that's what you do. Like, oh man, this man has had 2 straight games he haven't reached 190 passing yards. Like, in FanDuel, when you start to bet, they don't start lower than that. Like, you can't. 200 passing yards is like what you're supposed to get, yo. Come on, man. Like, this is horrible, yo. So bad.
His 8 passing touchdowns to his 5 interceptions.
Is he still at the windows yet? He still didn't get the
bathroom?
The bathroom, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no. He still has more bathrooms than he has touchdown passes.
Yeah.
He legit might end the season. I think you said that earlier in the year that he might end the season with still more bathrooms and touchdown passes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of time.
No, he doesn't.
Yo, what if he gets 3 this week? He's gonna get 3 this week. Russell Wilson, 3 touchdowns this week.
Oh man, yo.
Here we go. I'm calling it right now.
Yo.
He's in the tie number.
If that happens, I don't know if I could come on the show on Monday. If that happens. Yo, that'd be crazy.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about with this game, Greg?
No.
This is the battle of Tua and Herbert, man. The same draft class. The Dolphins fans were like, "Well, we should have took Herbert." I also said that, yeah, I should have took Herbert, but I mean, Tua has been impressive. He's really elevated his game. It looks like one of the top quarterbacks in football right now. So this game is going to be definitely interesting. So we'll see what happens. Let's move on to this next matchup. The 6-6 New England Patriots travel to Arizona to take on the 4-8 Arizona Cardinals. This game has a 44.5 point total, where the New England Patriots are 1.5 point home favorites, or road favorites in this one, rather. In terms of the game here, Greg, well, first let's talk about the weather and the injuries, there seems like there's supposed to be possible rain, but they do have a retractable roof. I don't know if they're going to close it. There's a hotline you can call to see if they want to close it, but I didn't really have time for that. Arizona, in terms of injuries, Rondale Moore was DNP with a groin. I don't think he's going to play. Definitely tough there, but some injury folks that I follow on Twitter believe that he could be back next week. DeAndre Hopkins, he's questionable with an illness. For New England, Jacoby Myers was downgraded midweek with a concussion. So he's DNP'd. I don't think he's going to play. Damian Harris, he's been a DNP with a thigh. Trent Brown, the offensive tackle, is questionable with I don't exactly know who he's questionable with, but then Jalen Mills, he's DNP with a groin. Greg, where are you going with this matchup here?
I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Pats to cover, Pats to win. On the Cardinals side, though, Kyler Murray's QB1 as long as he's playing and healthy. He's hopefully getting healthier, so he's a QB1. Even in would be a tough matchup. As far as the other players, James Conner, he's a high-end RB2. DeAndre Hopkins, a solid wide receiver, like high-end wide receiver 2. Obviously, always had that wide receiver 1 upside, but I think strong wide receiver 2 in this one with the tough matchup. Rondale Moore, I think, is a wide receiver 3. And then on the Pat side, it's really Ramondre Stevenson. That's really who really love to play as a high-end RB1. And that's about it. I mean, Jacoby Myers is also could be in plays wide receiver 3 for me, but it's tough. I don't know. The Pats find ways to win with that running game and their defense.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think Jacoby Myers is going to play. He's dealing with he downgraded midweek with a concussion. It's that seems like it's like a slim chance of playing there. But for me, I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take Arizona to cover. I'm going to take Arizona to win. Kyler Murray's a QB1. Bill Belichick's defenses, they historically struggle against mobile quarterbacks. So Kyler Murray, I think, has some QB1 upside. D Hop has wide receiver 1 upside as always. Marquise Brown, I think he's a wide receiver 2. Again, like I said, I don't think Rondale Moore is going to go, so wouldn't be counting on him. If Greg Dortch can go, I think he could help fill that role. But we haven't seen how that role has been utilized with both DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Hollywood Brown active. So that's definitely something that keep an eye on. But one thing to monitor with Arizona is continue to stash Keontae Ingram. I know I say it every week, but stash him ahead of this game, ahead of the playoff stretch. James Conner rather. We know his injury history and his penchant for getting hurt. So, Keontae Ingram, he's the only running back there behind Connor. So, again, continue to just stash him. If you got the extra roster spot, if you earn the bye week, drop your defense or your tight end or whatever, if you don't need them, or so on and so forth. So, for New England, Ramondre Stevenson, he's an RB1. Again, like I said, Jacoby Myers, he may not be available. So Hunter Henry, he's our preferred option, our preferred streaming option at the tight end position, has a fantastic matchup. I think Jonnu Smith even has some upside, that way as well. But again, wouldn't fully bank on him either. That's more of like a DFS type play. Greg, we haven't really talked much about this, but it's something that I've constantly been making fun of to my friends that are Patriots fans. What are your thoughts on Matt Patricia calling the Patriots offense?
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know why he would be. I mean, he has track record from being the defense coordinator on New England. He went to Detroit. He struggled there, calling the offense or managing the offense there. The track record is not good for him. I don't understand why he would be coaching the offense on New England.
Yeah, he to your point, he failed as a head coach in Detroit. Overtook
terrible.
That offense was terrible. That team was terrible. Overtook a Detroit
Yeah.
team that had just made the playoffs, and was pretty much ran it into the ground.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. With
and
talent there on the team, so it's not like they didn't have talent.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so we end up here in a situation where he comes back to New England and they hire him as a senior offensive assistant or an offensive assistant, and here he is calling the offense. And Steve Wilkes, is it Steve Wilkes?
But he
Or
was he
no,
was the
sorry.
DC on New England the first time, right? Around.
Yeah,
So
he'd always been the defensive coordinator for New England.
that's
He
crazy.
started as an offensive coach, I think, early in his career, but he was hired by Detroit to be the head coach because of his track record as a defensive coordinator.
Yes. Yeah.
Had never called plays at any level for offense, and Vance Joseph, my apologies, is the D coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, and they asked him about the offense, and he was saying, "Yeah, it's a lot of bubble screens, a lot of runs, a lot of short, quick short game. It's almost like a defensive guy is calling plays." And he said, like, with a smile,
Ooh. Ooh. Oh man,
"Oh,
it's pretty good.
yeah."
That's
So
really good. And it's not
yeah,
like I wouldn't be threatened by like that's not like bulletin board material for Mike Patricia because like what is he gonna do in like 2 days, 6 months? It is what it is. Like
just start chucking it down the field. No,
yeah,
you
word
ain't.
imagine. No, they ain't. No, you ain't.
Oh, oh man. So yeah, I mean, this has been something that I've been awaiting this crashing and burning of the Patriots offense essentially since we found out that it was going to be some combination of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge that were going to be responsible for it. So
Oof.
uh yeah. Without further ado though, Greg, let's get into starts of the week.
Yes,
So
sir.
why don't you start with your quarterback start of the week this week?
Gotta go with Captain Kirk Cousins. Had a last the Thanksgiving matchup was amazing, but last coming off a tough week against that just defense, and then the Dallas game has been two of the last 3 weeks been pretty tough for Kirk, but I think he's gonna get back to a QB1 level. Got Detroit last game against Detroit, threw for 260 and 2 touchdowns, no picks, so a good matchup there. I think he's gonna get his attempts up like he did last game. I think the high scoring game is gonna help him. Yeah, he's due for a great day.
I like this one a lot. I thought that I had a feeling that our starts of the week were going to end up like this. That you would end up with Kirk Cousins, and that I would end up with Jared Goff going up against Minnesota in the same game. Over the last 2 weeks, Goff has been the quarterback 9 in terms of fantasy points per game at the quarterback position, and now gets a fantastic matchup against Minnesota, who allowed the most fantasy points to the quarterback position over their last 3 games. Goff has Amon-Ra St. Brown to throw the ball to, also has Shark, DJ Shark, Josh Reynolds, and Jameson Williams now, who's healthy, to go along with Swift out of the backfield. I think the best is yet to come for Jared Goff this season. And, in a game with a massively high total, 53.5, the highest on the slate, I expect Goff to have a huge day here as a top 12 quarterback.
Yeah, man, you gotta love it. He's definitely been playing better this season. On a better team. Detroit as a whole is getting respectable. I like it.
Most definitely. Greg, who is that running back start of the week this week?
Oh man, gotta go with Tony Pollard going against Houston, one of the worst rush defenses in the league, and the fact that Tony Pollard's just been one of the hottest running backs in the league right now over the last 5 games. Averaging 16 carries a game, getting right under 100 rushing yards per game. Got 6 touchdowns in the last 5 games total. Rushing touchdowns 8 total because he had 2 receiving as well. So his man's been all around doing what he's got to do in every way. I think both running backs are due for a good day, but Tony Pollard has got that upside. So I'm giving you all Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Tony Pollard. Yeah, I mean he's talk about making an impact, at this point in the season, for a later round draft pick there and Tony Pollard. For me, I'm going to take my running back start of the week this week is going to be Miles Sanders. Um, Sanders is the RB13 on the season in terms of total PPR points at the running back position. Averaging more than 14 points per game. He's been really solid, and of course, It includes some spike weeks to go along with some down weeks, but expecting a spike week here from Miles Sanders, who gets a matchup here against a Giants defense that allows the 5th most PPR points over their last 3 matchups to opposing running backs. Start Sanders with some confidence this week, who's got a career high in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns thus far through just 12 games. So continue to roll him out there and expect a huge week from him this week.
Yes, sir.
Greg, who's that wide receiver starter week this week?
From Kirk Cousins at quarterback to Christian Kirk at wide receiver, man. Gotta go against him against the Tennessee Titans. Another player with a good matchup. Tennessee Titans very vulnerable in that secondary. And then Christian Kirk over the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks, he's got over 100 yards receiving. Got 2 touchdowns, game winning 2 touchdowns in that as well. The target share has just been very consistent throughout the entire season. As far as he's getting close to that 10 number every week. So you love to see it. He's getting wide receiver 1 usage, and I think Trevor Lawrence with the excellent matchup as well is going to find his man.
Yeah, definitely. Christian Kirk was somebody I thought about. Garrett Wilson was somebody that I definitely thought about putting in this slot, but I think he's at a point now where
he's not.
He's got to be.
He's reached that. Yeah, he's reached that point.
Got to be in your lineup every week.
Yeah, bro. Garrett Wilson, superstar, man. Crazy.
Crazy stuff. But my wide receiver star of the week is actually somebody who, was somebody that Greg, he was actually your bust, and he was somebody I wanted to be my bust. And I was going back and forth between him and another guy. But again, I can't quit him. It's my guy DJ Moore going up against Seattle. DJ Moore has had a polarizing season. Again, struggled early on in the year, came back to life, and then proceeded to struggle again. But he's got his buddy back in Sam Darnold, who, believe it or not, Moore is very productive with. He averages 9.5 targets, 5.5 receptions, and 73 receiving yards when catching passes from Sam Darnold. All his stats are lower when not catching passes from Darnold since Darnold arrived to the Panthers in 2021. So this is good news for him. He now gets a matchup with Seattle, which is not one to shy away from, to say the least. They allow the 7th most PPR points to opposing wide receivers over their last 3 games. I think you can trust in DJ Moore to help put you in the playoffs this week after, again, struggling early on in the year.
Yeah, definitely like it. I mean, DJ Moore definitely had a very up and down season, but the quarterback has definitely had a lot to do with that, and I think this is a beneficial one for him.
Definitely. Greg, I hope you took some Pepto-Bismol before this tight end start of the week here. Or
man.
Maybe you got some adult Depends on as you sit here and watch this one. Who's your tight end start of the week, Greg?
Gotta go with Joe Everett, man. I'm going with him against Miami.
You don't have to.
16's on bye, the usuals, but I think he's solid here. I already took Noah Fan as a stream. He's coming off probably one of his best weeks of the season, if not actually, I think his best week of the season. Highest receiving yards at 80. That's a season high. 5 receptions. I think he's gonna kind of gain some momentum here and get this against the Dolphins defense. That's another outstanding matchup for tight end position. So yeah, he should get it done in a high scoring game. Justin Herbert getting it to him. If not, this is it. I mean, this is really it for me. Like, honestly.
Didn't we say it was it like 2 weeks
ago?
ago?
I did. I said it was it 2 weeks. You're right. I'm back here.
You're back. All right.
I'm really back. Yeah. Now like not Russell Wilson though. Never happening. Never happening.
Oh man. All right. What's more likely to happen this week? Gerald Everett, 100 receiving yards, or Russell Wilson, 3 touchdown passes?
That's a great question. I'm gonna go Gerald Everett, 100 receiving yards. Coming off a season high 80, yo. Let's trend up. I think you get that.
I'm busting your chops, man. This is on paper, mathematically, this is a very good play. I just have some feelings about.
Oh no, the match has been Arizona, Miami. Like, he's played everybody good for tight ends.
Gerald Everett has taken the place of this next guy in terms of like all my tight end hate has been taken off of this next guy and put on to Gerald Everett. My tight end start of the week is TJ Hawkinson going up against Detroit. And this one is all about 100% about the revenge game narrative. Like there's really nothing else to it. Was traded in the division, now faces his team for his former team for the first time. The matchup isn't even a good one. Not as good as you might think. Detroit over the last 3 games allows the 23rd most PPR points to the tight end position. That is not a lot, but there are 6 teams on bye, so they present a better matchup than they look like on paper. But when it comes to a tight end like Hawk, we don't really care so much for the matchup. He's a focal point in the offense, but after a couple down weeks, I'm expecting him to bounce back in a nice way against his former team this week.
Yeah, definitely love Hawk every week. Definitely should be ready to play for his revenge game.
Yes, sir. And now it's time for everybody's favorite game. Some get money.
Ching ching, baby.
And gotta look this up, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you got that win.
I did get the win last week. So it is pulling it up. Tied 7-7. Because we played through 13 weeks, but we did do a Thanksgiving Day slate, which I wholeheartedly regret having done since you killed me because you took Josh Allen.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so it's tied 7-7. We've got 5 weeks left to go. Let's see what happens. So again, if you don't know, Get Money is a head-to-head FanDuel contest, a head-to-head DFS contest between Greg and myself. It's a snake-style draft. Once a player is selected, they're removed from the player pool, and Greg gets to pick first in odd weeks. I get first pick in even weeks. It is an even week, so I'm going to go ahead and take the first pick. And I say it every week. He is the wide receiver 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and take him in Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8,600.
Yep. That sounds about right. I was gonna do that, so I'm gonna just pivot real quick to taking well, you got him now. I'll wait for it. I'm gonna take a more important. I'll take Tony Pollard first. Give me 7,500. Give me my running back start of the week.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Justin Jefferson in the same game as my wide receiver 2 for 93.
Love it. I'm gonna take Adam Thielen, 6,400 as my wide receiver 1, I guess. First wide receiver I'm taking.
I'm going to take. Sorry, I'm realizing some things over here, making some realizations. I'm gonna take Miles Sanders as my running back 1, 7,100, going up against the New York Giants for running back start of the week.
Gonna take DeAndre Swift, 7,200 as my RB2 in that same game. The Minnesota game.
I'm gonna take Zonovan Bam Knight as my RB2, 6,300, going up against Buffalo.
Going to take Kirk Cousins at quarterback, 7,500. So hopefully everything to Jefferson just eat up.
Okay, I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, 3,800. Both of our defensive stream of the week. Get them nice and cheap.
Yeah, I would definitely have that defense in there. So I'm gonna have to pivot. But I'm gonna take Christian Kirk, my wide receiver start of the week, 7,600. Slide him in there.
I'm gonna take Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 3, 7,200, going up against Buffalo.
I'm gonna take At tight end, Greg Dulcich, 5,400. Yeah.
In my flex, I'm going to take DJ Shark, 5,700, going up against Minnesota.
Like it for sure. I'm going to take James Cook at my flex, 6,100.
It's a good one.
In there.
As my tight end, I'm going to go with Austin Hooper, my tight end stream of the week, who's 4,900.
At my defense, I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers at 3,600 going against Seattle.
That's a good one. Definitely one that I considered. For my quarterback, my final pick, I'm going to go with my quarterback start of the week, Jared Goff, 7,100, going up against Minnesota.
And I'm going to take, because I had a lot of money, Jamar Chase, my wide receiver one, 8,700. It was supposed to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it's all good.
Yeah, this is actually really good for me. I didn't have to change my lineup. I actually made one alteration, and that was by choice. So my quarterback is my quarterback start of the week, Jared Goff, 7,100. My RB1, Miles Sanders, 7,100. My RB2 is Zonovan Knight, 6,300. As my wide receiver one, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8,600, going up against Minnesota. As my wide receiver two, Justin Jefferson, 9,300, going up against Detroit. As my wide receiver three, I got Garrett Wilson, 7,200, going up against Buffalo. As my tight end, I've got Austin Hooper, 4,900, going up against Jacksonville, my tight end stream of the week. At my flex, I've got DJ Shark at 5,700, going up against Minnesota. And at defense, is going up against the Baltimore Ravens, 3,800.
Like it. I'm going to take my quarterback start of the week, Kirk Cousins, 7,500. Tony Pollard, RB running back position, 7,500. DeAndre Swift, 7,200 at the second running back position. Jamar Chase, wide receiver at 8,700. Adam Thielen, I'm going to take him at 6,400. Christian Kirk, my wide receiver start of the week at 7,600. Greg Dulcich, 5,400 at the tight end position. James Cook, 6,100 at my flex. And the Carolina Panthers defense also 3,600.
Nice. There you have it. Some get money. So hopefully we'll see what happens.
Sure.
I'm not trying to lose again. So, I know Greg's not trying to lose again either. So,
this is how that trend goes. I'm definitely winning this week. It's been literally alternating weeks the entire season.
No, it hasn't. You won 3 consecutive matchups. You won 3.
So that's come back.
And then I won to tie it up. So now it's 7-7.
It's my turn.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, definitely appreciate y'all. Make sure you enjoy games this week. Good luck in all your matchups. Hopefully you make it into the playoffs.
Thanks.
Hopefully you're maybe clinch some bye weeks or something. You know where we'll be at on Monday. Right here. Breaking down everything that was. So we'll catch y'all then. Have a good week. And we are out of here. Peace.
Yeah.